Morning, good morning. Natalia, Betsy, Melissa, Greg, Gabrielle. How is everybody today? Here on the East Coast, it's like Northeast, excuse me. It's getting in like the upper 50s, which means it's nice out and that we can all go outside again. For my friends in Florida, that's probably a cold, chilly day. Probably very similar, Tara, for my friends on the West Coast. I appreciate you guys waking up. So before we jump into today's topic of online leads, Heidi, always nice to see you on my screen. And I wanted to talk about this quick topic about the marathon mindset. Now, when COVID started, we talked about the communication economy and how valuable it will be to practice how we communicate with people. So ultimately, it's clear, concise, and the other person actually understands the value. Going forward, the other thing that I want you guys to focus on is the marathon mindset, right? Is understanding that this market is a marathon, right? And we are about to get into 1 quarter done, but that's this much of this much. So understanding that your numbers are based on a year and not 3 months. So some of you might be where you want to be. Some of you might not be where you want to be. Either way, it's 100% okay, right? And the marathon mindset says you have to keep a certain pace. And if you keep that pace at the end of the year, you'll get to where you want to go. So our promise to you guys, Marina, please mute yourself.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Our promise to you guys is that we would make sure that your business plans would not die, right? So you'll see in April, we will be revisiting the business plan, where you are, your skills, and all the things that we started talking about in December. So what I want you guys to do is focus on the discipline to do the things you know you need to do. Continue your outreach, continue your calls, continue networking with people within this network and the Compass network. Have the consistency to show up to do them regardless of what the results are, and the patience to understand that in the year and in time that the numbers always will be in your favor. See, most people give up the discipline of doing things every day and the consistency because they're not getting what they want now. We're in closing out month 3 of 12, which is 25%, right? So you don't know when what you did today will benefit you tomorrow. So that is my thoughts. Let me just pull up my deck and we'll get started. Can you guys see my deck? Natalie, yes? There we go. One of my favorite topics, converting online leads. So when we start thinking about online leads, we want to think about what our objectives really are of a conversation with somebody, right? Because there's so many different things that we can go into. And really the mindset of how you approach this conversation is the difference between winning and losing, right? If your goal is to convert a client every time you speak with people, you're going to show up differently, right? But if you show up, and I like the word curious, if you just show up curious, let me learn a little bit more. But let me also establish authority and control, right? If you have people just dictating the way that you work, how well does that really go, right? So I would know that if Natalia called, my goal would be to learn a little bit more about what specifically made her call me today. I'd let her know that I was a professional by establishing authority and control, by asking the conversation, asking the right questions, right? So I want everyone to take a note of this and never, ever forget it. The person asking all the questions is in control of the conversation. I'll say that again. The person asking all the questions is in control of the conversation, right? So if you ever want to challenge this, have you, a friend or anyone, if you're ever speaking to a recruiter or go on an interview or something, ask them a bunch of questions and they'll literally start selling you on the experience and why you should work there when they're interviewing you. Now, see if they're working with another agent, right? And if they are working with an agent, let me give you guys the script now. If somebody says, yeah, I'm working with an agent, and they say, but I still just want to see this property. That's great. If you're working with an agent, what specifically had you contact me today, not your agent? Because sometimes working with another agent can be a smokescreen for, I don't want to work with any agent, right? So if this is the case, two things can happen. Number one, you could see what their current experience is. Number two, you could also see if they want to waste your time, right? And say, as a professional courtesy, we believe if people are working with an agent and they're happy with them, you should reach out to them. Or if somebody wants the listing agent's number, no, I just want to work with the listing agent. Sure, I'm happy to provide that. Has anyone shared with you the benefits of having your own agent, right? And ultimately learning if they're financially capable, right? And this is for people, I will say this, people have two schools of thoughts. Some people believe that you don't ask about finances on the first date. And in this market, you would say, have you got a pre-approval? And if they said no, what is your time frame on getting one? And they could say whatever they want. My answer is always going to be, hey, either way is 100% okay with me, but would you be willing to lose a home if you ultimately didn't have a pre-approval? Please mute yourself, whoever's not muted. I know Rachel's not here today. Avoid doing this. Have you ever asked somebody about what would feel like a line of questioning, like you're in a police lineup, right? So what you want to do is ask questions that will lead to conversation, right? Like if you're like, so where are you going? When are you going by? How soon do you have to be there? The tone in your voice is a different conversation. So if I said to Natalia, hey, that's really exciting that you're looking for a home. In a perfect world, when would you like to be there? Versus when do you have to be in a home by, right? So the way that you use your voice and project the tonality will create an experience for somebody, right? So when we say avoid turning people off by a line of questioning, that has a lot to do with tonality. The second thing is protect your time, right? A lot of these people, the nice part about COVID, I'll preface this by saying is the people that are there just to kind of look the looky-loos on the internet, a lot of these people have been eliminated because there is some form of a health risk still out in the world, right? So understand what you're offering somebody to begin with, right? And make sure you protect your time and don't get the mindset that every person just asks you for a few things makes it the right thing, right? And the third thing is avoid asking for a long-term commitment, right? Do you think you could go on a Tinder date and ask to get married the first time? The person's going to run. You have the first date's always on us, right? So these are some things I want you guys to avoid doing. Now, let's talk about that beautiful first call. This is where the battle essentially is won or lost. So now somebody calls up and they want to know about a house. I would say, Natalia, this is great. You want to see 1 through 3 Main Street. What specifically made you want to see this property today? Or in general, this is where you could start learning more about what's important to them, right? So by asking somebody what specifically made them want to see that property, you guys are all market experts. You know about similar properties, features, things they like. Now this goes into being curious and opening up a dialogue. Now, every person in most markets, even New York City, guys, it's getting more and more competitive, right? Want properties that aren't available to everybody, right? So if I was talking to Natalia, who's my client for today, she's the little beautiful box on my screen. I'd say, Natalia, I see that you asked about 1, 2, 3 Main Street and this made you like it. Did you want access to just the homes that you see on StreetEasy or Zillow, or do you also want access to off-market inventory as well? And that will open up a whole other dialogue of questions. What do you mean off-market inventory? Do you have access to other homes? And this is where you can start building your value proposition. Because remember, between coming soons and private exclusives, those are two of the biggest benefits that we offer that no other brokerage has, right? Would you like access to off-market inventory? Or do you want to only look at the houses that everyone else is looking at, or apartments? So these are 2 points here that, one, the first question will help you understand more about what they like, why they're there, their must-haves versus would likes without having to go through that whole line of questioning. And ultimately, this will give you, the second question will give you an opportunity to build a more robust appointment, will offer a more robust value proposition. Now, guys, I'm going to go through this stuff quickly, right? So we have time for Q&A in the end. So ask him, have you ever purchased a house in a blank market before? Have you ever purchased a house in a competitive market before? See what they say. No, yes. Most people are going to say no because a lot of people that are looking online are first-time home buyers. Would you like to know, write this one down, would you like to know what it takes to win a home in this market? And they're going to say yes. And if they say no, they're not very qualified, right? Who wouldn't want to know? And this is where we put the little asterisk. This is why it's really important to share with people before they go out what the actual market is, how competitive it is, and realistically what kind of offers they're going to need to make to actually get a home, right? And then ultimately, I love asking the question, what makes this the right time to make a move right now? You know, Natalia, and I see that you're looking and, you know, you shared with me, you really want a home with the backyard and access to some off-market properties. You know, you do want to know what that is. You do know it's a competitive market and you want to sit down and know what it takes to win. What makes this the right time to make a move and really listen, right? And the other thing is you could ask them in a different way too, the same question of, would you like most about the home you called about? So you could help set up a tour, right? Would you like me to set up homes with similar features? Now, we'll share these slides with you, but you can mix and match this stuff. But realize you want to build a framework out, right? On how to have these conversations, how to engage. What is your path for the person to go on, right? Think about this. We've all spoke to an online lead before. In many ways, we've inquired about things online too. Where's the customer today? Where are they looking to go? And ultimately the middle, how are you going to help them to get there, right? So let's think about some closes. Has anyone taken the time to share with you the home buying process? What do you think is the best way to go about finding exactly the type of house you're looking for and pay a reasonable price for it? Now let them start sharing with you what they think, right? Remember, in the end, if you're giving somebody what they want, that's the best experience for them, right? And I always say this, there are two worlds. One, it's giving them the experience they want to have. And then a lot of times we know what they want is not necessarily what they should be doing because this is what we do as a profession. They don't do that. But understanding, giving them what they want will get them in your door, and then doing right by them and sharing some of the things that make you guys great as realtors is what will keep them there and will have them refer you. So some things to remember, right? The lead is calling about a specific property. They're calling about one home. So if you overwhelm them about, hey, I can show you this and I can do this and I can do this and I can do this, and this, does that really work? No, it does not, right? If you think on these calls that by telling them you can do all this stuff for them, that's going to win them over as a client, that's just going to show them that you're about yourself. You didn't listen, you didn't ask questions, and it'll create a very uncomfortable dynamic that most people won't move forward in, right? Now, if the person does the majority of the talking and you make sure to stick with that property and then you expand the conversation as time goes along, that's your best chance. Number two, they don't understand how the process works, right? Like hit yes in the box if you talked to an online lead and they thought you're the listing agent. Exactly. And the last one, this might not be their top priority as it is yours. They don't know who you are and they don't know your experience, right? So remember, trust is a feeling, and a feeling is created by a set of actions and experiences, right? So if you have an experience with somebody, you guys trust me because of the experiences you've had with me, right? But if I'm telling you, hey, trust me because I've had this, this, and this, it's not how it works, right? So I want to open this up as online leads are very different in every market, in every place, right? This is a framework we want us to follow. But when we plan this for you guys today, we want to leave ample time for Q&A because this is where it gets down to the nitty gritty calls, conversations, and ultimately what you're doing on one of these calls is the same that everyone else is doing. So I'm going to open this up for questions now. Okay, so who is the first? Renee, I see your hand up. Okay. Go ahead, unmute yourself. Good
Hi,
morning.
hi, morning. So I've had two experiences where, the lead were telling me that, oh, I'm the first to scout out, places before my brother comes back to take a look. And then another case was, oh, I'm the first who start to look at places first before my parents, are coming in. So how do I screen out these leads? And when I try to, ask, oh, so do you know if they plan on financing or, cash or, and then they say, well, either way, and it's fine as long as the monthly
So
is
ready?
1,000.
So
Yeah.
so ready? They're asking you for a service, and your mindset is I can afford it. You're gonna say, great, I'd be happy to do that. And for our clients, when we provide that kind of level of service, we would require you to sign an exclusive buyer's agreement, which outlines a compensation with how we work. Because if they're signing exclusives with you, at least you're protecting your time as best as you can, right? You can ask them some more qualifying questions like, what specifically made you want to make a move now? What is your time frame, right? And understanding that stuff before you get to financing. Because if they start saying, well, we hear the market could be good if I find the right opportunity. Hear me very carefully here. If you hear the word, if I find, run, just run away, right? Like, I must find sounds really good. That sounds like there's an actual check for you at the end, right? You have to remember, everyone likes looking at real estate. Everyone wants to be an investor, right? So I could see Diane nodding her head. And this is the thing, and you hear this all the time. If you find this kind of deal and this kind of deal, and it's like the most unbelievable deal in the world. And I'm not the kind of person to overpay. Marina shared one of these examples. Just remember and smile, and you could say, with all due respect, if I found one of those deals, I probably would buy it myself. And then just be quiet, right? Like, why, if not, why wouldn't I want to buy it for myself? And that kind of just stops that conversation, right? So as people are asking you to do things, you have the right to protect your time, right? Qualify their timing, their needs, wants, and ability, right? The ability to close is at the end of it. Is this something they would like to move or they must move, right? If there's an if attached to it, right? No good.
So in New York, like it's a bit weird to actually ask the buyer to sign an exclusive, especially when you first meet them.
Well,
That
no, I'm saying
online
if,
lead.
well, then look, at some point you can't have the chicken and the egg, right? If somebody's just going to tour you around aimlessly and have you do virtual properties and stuff like that, you can either pick to keep doing it the way that you're doing, create a standard that the people have to follow, and make sure that before you even offer them the service of doing this, understanding it's an if scenario or a must scenario. Sound
Mhm.
good?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Who is next? Who else is doing online leads here? Anyone have any questions? Patrick, I saw you post something in the.
Well, that was the coming soon issue, which is no longer exclusive up here to Compass. In fact, I think I said in Fairfield County, there are currently 35 and only 2 are Compass.
Well, the clients don't know that.
Yeah, they do. They see it on Zillow. We're getting different reactions to the coming soon.
But we have private exclusives too now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's sort of where we've got to go. Could you speak a little bit about the classic online where, even the listing agents requiring pre-approval. And we just had some team member who got really into a bad situation with somebody who just wouldn't give it, and showed up to meet them, and probably was a gang member for a $7 million house. That would have really gone over well.
Well, look, in the end, right?
You can't discriminate.
No, you can't discriminate, right? And you can send an email to the listing agent that says, my client's wishes are A, B, C, and D. Would it be okay if we continue to show the house? And if they say no, at that point, you could blank out the person's name if you'd like. They could find the information on the internet and just say, look, ultimately, these are the seller's wishes through their agents, right? And ultimately, remove yourself from the situation, because really it's not your choice. It's not your house and you're not the agent. You're a facilitator at that point, right?
Yeah.
So these things are happening more and more. Diane, I see you unmute yourself.
I think, especially in that price range, you do, again, if they can't produce, the capabilities, or you don't know who they are, you can't research and find who they are, you definitely have to do that. One of the things I do having to do with sign call, when I get a phone call, if I just had one the other day and he goes, oh, I'm interested. We talked about it, one of my listings. And then I said, he goes, if it falls out, let me know. I'm all cash. I go, okay, send me your email address. Please text me your email address and information so that I have that. And if they don't do it, I just don't even bother paying attention to them. I kind of put it on them to give me some information to engage. And if they don't engage, then that's when majority of the time, I think it's just a waste.
Yeah, the engagement hadn't been a problem. There was, for this person, for the agent, they had engaged both phone and email. It just got very fishy with the delays and things. And that's part of the deal. I mean,
ultimately, this is okay. So it's a good reason, a good thing you brought this up, right? Nothing is going to work 100% of the time. And the word that I want you guys to write down is standards. What is your standards for working with these people, right? Heidi, I hate doing online leads and I need to get over it. Honestly, I find most people are looky-loos, right? If you think that, that's what the world's going to create, right? Your subconscious mind can't delineate the difference between a negative and positive thought, right? So you're projecting your past experiences into the future and you're playing defense against something that might or might not happen, right? Online leads are a numbers game, right? It's like, how do I have a great conversation in the beginning? How do I be memorable? How do I make them feel heard and offer something unique? After that, the next part of that is how do we follow up with these people, right? Think about the word trigger event, right? We all have these trigger events in our lives. There was something that triggered you that made you even get into coaching. Sometimes you might have had an experience where you didn't like the way you looked or you felt or you weren't able to do something. And then you're like, you know what? I need to join a gym or I need to hire a personal trainer, right? And the people that are around you and are top of mind when that trigger event happens gets the business, right? So if you're doing online leads, as much as it's the initial conversation, it's the way that you follow up with them, right? I'm looking at these screens and I know several of you, and I'm not going to call anybody out today, that have hundreds of online leads in their database that just weren't converted on the initial call. Right? If you look at those people over a 12-month period, you should be able to convert a minimum of 5% of them. So if you're spending money on online leads, yes, it's great to take the people off, but the word is automation, right? Spend some time in learning your CRM, either use the action plans that they have made, right? So something goes to the people, or work on creating your own version, right? So this way, not only are you capturing what comes in, you can start to capture more of what has not converted, right? Because there's so much lost money in this. So be very mindful of that. Now, a couple other things. Has everyone entered our contest for the month? Rachel, can you put a link for the contest in here? Rachel's fire alarm just went off. Okay. Action plans, Marina, use the one in the Compass CRM to start out with. We sent out in our email, we sent out an email with the contest in our newsletter. So make sure to join, engage, and win, right? Like I want somebody to really go above and beyond and use this as an opportunity to push yourself and an opportunity to grow. We're definitely going to be doing more and more contests going forward. So look, these are my thoughts for the day. Number one, make sure you adopt the marathon mindset. Is one, right? Understanding that we're getting into month 3 of an entire year, right? Keep following the plan. When you have the best day ever, stick to your plan. When you have the worst day ever, stick to your plan, right? It doesn't really make a difference. Number 2, in working with online leads, understand that they are calling about a specific property. They don't understand how the process works. And number 3, that by telling them all these great things you could do, it'll never get you a client. This doesn't work, right? Number 4, being curious and inquisitive and meeting somebody where they are is the best way to gain a customer. Number 5, if you're doing online leads, you best have a great follow-up system, right? If you don't have anything, just enroll them in the Compass Long-Term Action Buyer Plan. There's something made for you, and start there before you're like, I need to create custom and my clients don't talk. Like, it doesn't matter. The way these things are built, they are tested, they are researched, they will get you some form of engagement, right? And lastly, make sure you enter your contest. Make sure you enter a contest. Push yourself. Betsy's saying that she used this online leads to create her entire business, right? So if you want to know more about doing this, reach out to Betsy. Betsy loves connecting with anybody and everybody. And if you have not watched her agent talk, I highly encourage you to do it, and bring some tissues because she might actually make you cry. So listen, guys, tomorrow we have our live Q&A, live role play. So please bring in all of your scenarios that are stumping you in the market. Bring your greatest challenges, bring your greatest questions, bring all the things you feel that are missing. And we want to make sure our platform for you guys on Tuesdays is timely, it's relevant, whether it's role playing, how do I work through this? We want to make sure that those things are very actionable. Now, in a group setting, we ask people to be really mindful. If something is very, very specific to you that someone else in the group can't benefit for, it's not a great time to ask that question, right? So we want to make sure that what we're sharing and what we're asking be relevant to the 50+ people that are here. So thank you guys for being here. I hope this has helped you with your online leads. Everyone should go on and enroll all these leads into their Compass CRM and the action plan. So I hope everyone has a great day. Keep pushing yourself, and I look forward to seeing your name in the contest and crowning one lucky winner. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks.